what's the hope from Bitcoin? It's great. Okay, we're not going to go with this down in the stock market, and we're going to get these ETFs. It's all going to be okay. There's just too many if statements there. I think it's just not worth and something that's Bitcoin related, GBTC. Just spend a little more time here. Now there's a nice chart. And I also look at that as if this ETF happens, we know that premium, that discount is still about 31%, pretty much is likely to go to zero, just a matter of time. So I look at it, risk reward. I can't make trade recommendations, but I can't trade either. I'm not allowed, which is probably keeps me neutral. Is that to me, there's a bottom formation.
In a recent interview, Bloomberg Intelligence's senior macro strategist, McGlone, has expressed concern that Bitcoin's recent rally might be short-lived due to impending economic recession and the assets alignment with the stock market's performance. According to McGlone, the Fed believe we need to endure that phase and sever the dependency. When the stock market declines, we lower rates, resulting in contentment. He anticipates this pattern to continue for the next 6 to 12 months, with Bitcoin following suit. According to McGlone, over the past 3 years, Bitcoin has primarily risen in tandem with the stock market. Bitcoin and the stock market have both experienced significant volatility over the past 3 years. However, Bitcoin has outperformed the stock market in terms of total return. As of June 27, 2023, Bitcoin is up about 400% over the past 3 years. The S&P 500, a broad index of stocks, is up about 100% over the same period. He posted a tweet, 70% chance of U.S. recession. There have been 2 U.S. recessions since the turn of the millennium, and both times commodities and stocks didn't reach a bottom until the Federal Reserve cut rates substantially. What's happening now is similar to July 2007. Mike believes since 2017, Bitcoin has reached its current level compared to the Nasdaq, and it has remained at that same level ever since. The analyst suggested that Bitcoin may face a performance hurdle. In a recent tweet, he said, the ratio of Bitcoin's price to the Nasdaq 100 stock index was at about 2x on June 22, a level first reached in 2017, which may indicate a performance impediment for the crypto. According to Mike, when the stock market experiences a downturn, Bitcoin is expected to behave more like a risk-off asset. Here are some highlights from the discussion we'd like to share with you. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon for future updates.
Let's get it through a first decent recession. Now, you guys have done that where you've traded bear markets where the equity market goes down and stays down. And actually, the Fed saves you. They try to save you and eventually comes back, right? That's changed. That's what I think we're going to come through. Now, obviously, I'm focused on the macro here. Is we have to get through that period. I think the Fed says it too. They know they want to cut that umbilical cord. Well, all that matters is that every time the stock market goes down, we cut rates and everybody's happy. It's got to get through that period. And that's what I think we're going to be seeing in 6 months, in the next 12 months. Bitcoin's going to do that. For the last 3 years, Bitcoin has basically gone up with the stock market. First, it went down and then went up, back down, and now the stock market is going up a lot more than Bitcoin's going up. Okay, maybe Bitcoin's going to catch up. So we have to point out the fact is since 2017, the Bitcoin's first reached this current level versus the Nasdaq, it's still at that same level. So I completely agree with what you said, Dave, and what you're doing, James. In the big picture, this is going to revolutionize. It's the digital world. It's digital gold and digital world, but show me the beef. I mean, I'm honestly, as a strategist, let me finish. Let me finish, just because, I mean, I gave you a lot of time there. We all did. It's got to show that divergent strength when the market's going up. It's right now, it's like on the year, it's up dollar. I mean, it's the volatility weighted up about as much as it should be versus NASDAQ. It basically takes 2 to 3 vol versus the NASDAQ. Okay, great. It's done what it's supposed to do. Yet the last few months it's been underperforming for stupid reasons, right? Maybe we'll get that ETF. That's my point, is you got to get the big picture trend. Is this going to be a little different than the last 12 years where every single time the stock market goes up, the Fed's going to save you? No, it's going to be different. We know that's going to be the case. The Fed's told us. We see it. So we have to get through that period. Is this early days of it? I think it is. And I just need to see that indication that when the stock market goes down, this is going to be more of a risk-off asset. And that's the point. It hasn't happened, and still on the year. Maybe it's catching up, but just certainly the last Q2, because of these reasons, it's just trading poorly. And we need to see that. And I look at the macro as it's still the fastest horse in the race. One thing we have to point out is a lot of the people who are the most bullish Bitcoin are the people who keep telling me the same thing I've heard for 5 years. I've been part of it. Institutions are coming, institutions are coming, institutions are coming. Great. I agree with that. It's coming. It's all coming. But we're still hearing the same thing. We've been just kind of get immune to it after a while.
According to Mike McGlone, the launch of physical Bitcoin ETFs in the U.S. is inevitable, although it may not happen in 2023. The application by BlackRock for a Bitcoin ETF has likely accelerated the process. However, McGlone also mentioned that Bloomberg Economics predicts the U.S. economy to lean towards a recession in the upcoming months. Speaking at a news conference last week, Powell said there were no plans to raise rates at every other meeting or to follow any other particular time frame. According to Mike, despite various indications of a slowdown, there are no signs of rate cuts from not just the Fed, but virtually every central bank. McGlone believed that it would be fantastic if Bitcoin can outperform an equity market during its upward movement. However, it would be even better if Bitcoin can outperform an equity market during its downturn. He believes that in the long term, this is the direction we are heading. However, currently, Mike sees gold and long bonds as the most likely assets to perform well. McGlone stated, "Well, I'm much more worried that of the whole tide going out because of this recession and the risk that everybody's priced in for the bullish scenario."
Maybe in the next 3 months they'll approve a Bitcoin ETF. Is that why we're all bullish? And I think that's what I have to sit there and think, okay, that's an if statement. No one has any clue when it might happen. We all know at some point there's going to be ETFs in this country where you can track a broad index of cryptos, physical cryptos. That's just a matter of time. And then, of course, people who want to volunteer in history to go back down in history as Aaron Burrs of history, fine. We've seen some of those people. That's fine because this technology is overwhelming. I completely get that. But to me, the macro is just, if you saw what we all saw what he said last week. We saw what he did, the Bank of England, the Bank of Canada. I mean, this is a classic historical case of the rug pull and liquidity. Now, I have to admit, this weekend I went back and read about 100 years more of history of the crashes, and almost every single time it just reiterates my views. First of all, you pump things too much, and then you dump things too much. And then, so we have to be hoping, let's see, to be bullish Bitcoin here, obviously we have to hope for that ETF soon. Okay, maybe we'll get that. We have to hope for the stock market, bull market to continue. Maybe we'll get that, but I fully expect a recession soon. That's just not my view. Look at commodities are collapsing. Look at the inverted yield curve. It's doing it more today. You've seen the 10-year note yield ticking down this morning. And it's just the bottom line of liquidity. The Fed is still still raising rates, pulling that liquidity. So the macro is very poor. And I don't like to be bullish on hope. I like to be bullish on facts. So I think what's going to happen, my base case is we're going to tilt back into this normal bear market for a typical recession where stock market goes down. I'm sorry to say that's just the way it's usually happened in history. People just forget what happened in the last 10 years. They were been able to buy every dip when the Fed was zero. That's what Chairman Powell said last week. He said, we're not going to be there. We're raising rates, yet we know there's a lot of signs of slowing down. And there's no sign of that, of cutting rates. It's not just the Fed. It's virtually every central bank with the exception of one key one, China. China's a country that backed Russia. Well, the unlimited friendship, we all know that's failing. So I see this is, I'll end with this. To me, these are all the iterations of part of what I see as a significant economic reset. By the end of this year, it's going to come clear. And if Bitcoin can get out of this and beat an equity market on the way up, that would be great. If it can beat an equity market on the way down, that would be even better. I think that's where we're going in the long term. But right now, I see it as gold and long bonds are the most likely to do well. No.
According to McGlone, he prefers not to be optimistic based solely on hope. Instead, he believes that we are likely to shift back into a regular bear market scenario typical of a recession. Bitcoin has outperformed the stock market in terms of total return over the past 3 years. There may be a performance hurdle ahead based on the ratio of Bitcoin's price to the NASDAQ 100 stock index. What's your stance on McGlone perspective? We encourage you to share your views in the comments section. If you found this content informative, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for the most up-to-date news and videos. Thanks for joining us.